Okay, so welcome everybody to this class. So over the years, my job is to go teach these scriptures at various places wherever there's interest, and also online. The number one question that people have asked me is, how do I relate, or the teachers have asked me is, how do I relate this information to their students in an easy to understand format? And these days, I mean, asanas, or people associate the term yoga with asanas, and asanas, they're very physical. But more and more people these days, they're searching for something a little more, because it's a very should I say, it's a stress-filled world. But so is it looking to some bigger and subtler dimensions of yoga? And this is where teachers are also trying to convey the essence without too much complexity in a way that people can relate to. At the same time, it touches on something that is very ancient, because all these the scriptures, they were written several thousands of years ago. If you go to my website, I have a small sutra from the Yoga Sutras. It says that the sutra itself goes as Tat Pradhyanajam Anashayam. What it means is that anything that comes from a meditative state of mind is very high quality. So a lot of these scriptures that you're going to see are written by people from their meditative states of mind. And for that reason, they don't have authorship. Because the moment you put a name, then ego comes with this. What Patanjali has done in the Yoga Sutras is just compiled whatever was there. But this is age-old stuff. So we will make this very informal. If you have questions, stop me. And I have made the content in a way such that there are plenty of references, and you can use this later when you're trying to explain a certain concept to your students. And I will also, it's totally optional. There are a few sutras we can chant. These are important sutras, and we'll only chant the simpler ones, not the tongue twister. So the sutras and the shlokas, they're also considered mantras, which means they have a power to calm the mind. For example, now they've found that the word Om is considered the pranava, primordial sound. It apparently it has an impact on the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body. It comes from the word vagabond, because a wanderer. So the nerve wanders all over, and it also goes into the stomach. That's why you feel all the goosebumps and everything. So the vagus nerve, calming the vagus nerve is very important. In my former job, I used to work on the neurostimulators, and this is one way to treat certain conditions, and this is the nerve they would stimulate. So yeah, so this presentation is tailored in this format, and feel free to stop and ask questions. Okay, and with that, we will jump in. And I wanted to tell you one thing. So my job is actually 100 times easier than yours. In the scriptures, they say, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. That is, Shravanam means listening. That's the first step. You have to, those days, they didn't write down. It has to be transmitted by memory. Mananam is memorizing. Nididhyasanam is meditating on the meaning of this. The most difficult of this is listening. So your job is actually much more difficult. And if you don't understand, it's because I'm doing a bad job. So heads you win, tails I lose. That's how it works here. So and that's why feel free to stop me if there's nothing like a silly question or anything like that. So it's very interactive, and I try to simplify this so that we can all understand. At the same time, I don't like to use quantum physics in these examples, because this is an ancient topic, and we don't want to bring in. We'd like to keep the mystical aura around it. That way, the mind also settles down when receiving it. And typically, what I tell people is that try to feel certain things with the body. Sometimes we can get carried away. Oh, what do you mean by prana? Is there, sometimes people have these questions. Is there medical proof for measuring prana? We don't have sensor in modern medical devices. It's all blood test results or sensors to measure your blood glucose, heart rate, all that. But we don't have sensors for prana. So a lot of these concepts will remain still. It can't be quantified. So listen to it with the body. That way, your mind will settle down and it'll make connections in the subconscious mind. But feel free to ask questions too. Okay. Okay. So we have these are the contents. First thing I do is to motivate people on why study these and what's the use of this yoga philosophy. This is how the ancient sages, they motivated others. So the yoga philosophy, it gives a very big picture view across lifetimes. And the idea is that a narrow view of life, so you're constrained with very few options. What happens immediately? Stress occurs. Fear, stress, all these occur. Whereas when you see the big picture continuity across lifetimes, there is a sense of ease. Let's say I break my leg this lifetime. I am not able to do yoga. And Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, which we will see soon, Krishna tells about people who want to pursue yoga, some form of yoga, maybe asanas, meditation, but due to some life circumstance, they fall off the path. What is the fate? Arjuna asks Krishna, what is the fate of that person? This person has wasted so much time in this yoga. He is not accumulated materially, he is not gained. He could have done something to earn more money. So it's a loss in both. And Krishna says, there is no loss here. In the next lifetime, he'll pick where he left, or she. So the entire yoga philosophy gives the big picture view across lifetime. This gives a free sense of freedom and ease. This is the superpower. When you, it's initially it will become, it's a little, these may sound foreign, but once later it's called Shraddha. There's something that kind of comes in and you understand that there's something bigger than this. And these people who have talked about many things which work in reality, it can be Ayurveda, which was formulated thousands of years ago. So all those work. And it's not based on modern medicine, then they knew exactly how the planets worked. And also astrology. Astrology tells about, it's called Vedic astrology. It tells about Jyotish, it tells about the proclivities of a person. Because the planets, and Patanjali also talks about it, Nadi Chakre Kaya Vyuha Jnanam, you know how the body is arranged by meditating on the navel chakra. And he also says that the planets, how the Chandra, Tara, Vyuha Jnanam, all the planets, how they are arranged, that when you go in, you understand that. So it's the mind is the key. You'll see that soon. So the big picture view is, it makes us a lot, it gives far more ease. When there is ease in life, you can do much more. So that is the concept. That's the motivation. Okay, with this, we jump straight in. Yoga is all about the mind. Now, Patanjali uses the word called pratyaya. This is the mind screen. Okay, and the mind screen, and this is all this entire movie theater is called chitta. Patanjali uses the word chitta. And in this chitta, there is the screen, the speakers. If you just close your eyes for a minute, you will see constantly images are being played in the mind. And there are sounds. it's always there. It's just like a movie theater. And this movie theater, it looks empty, but there's one spectator sitting. The spectator is looking at the screen. This spectator is called the Purusha. The entire Yoga Sutras is about this spectator. And it's in all of us, this Purusha. Okay? Yoga Sutras, the scriptures, it's all Purusha, 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 all about it. Many names, Atma, Drashta. Patanjali will use different names. So, the lone spectator. And in the second sutra, Patanjali defines yoga. Yoga, chitta vritti nirodha. Let's hear Jayashree's chant.
Yogaschitta vritti nirodha.
I will explain and then we'll chant. So in Sanskrit, a lot of the words, the way they sound is actually what it conveys. Vritti, look at this. That's like a whirlpool, right? It resonates with that. So the vrittis, it means, there's the English translation is difficult. It's all the books translated as the activities, modification, but it's like it has a sense of turbulence in it, like a whirlpool. That's why I put the picture of a whirlpool. Vritti. So it's this turbulent activities of the mind. So chitta vritti, the movie theater's vritti, nirodha. What means? It means just completely terminating or just reducing significantly the activities of this movie theater. That is yoga. This is how he defines. So shall we chant? So maybe the people on video, so you can keep it muted because there will be a echo otherwise, but you can chant while being muted. So I will first chant and then you can chant, because this is the star, 6-star shloka, not even 5-star. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Okay. So it's worth memorizing. It's actually not a very difficult shloka. It's helpful because at times when you think about this, as I said, these were all written from a very meditative state of mind. You won't find mistakes in these things. Anything what they later see. It's called a Shastra. Shastra means it's an authority, scripture. You won't find and everything is done in such a way precisely with a certain reason. So this is a Shastra. So it's worth some of these sutras and shlokas, it's worth remembering for that reason, even though it's in a different language. Now, Patanjali next talks what happens when the vrittis cease. So, tada drashtuhu swarupe vastanam. Let's listen to Jai.
Tada drashtuh swarupeva sthanam.
So I use the word Purusha. Okay, the word literally Purusha means, Pura means a place. So for those who've been to Mysore, the place where Sharath has his shala is called Lakshmipuram. Pura. Pura means place. Even a lot of places in India, they have this Rampur, Rampura, all that. So it means a place. Isha means Lord. So it's a Lord of this place that we call the body. That is the Purusha. And here Patanjali uses a word, drashta, which means seer. The body, even the eyes is there, it's not seeing. What sees is the Purusha. And what does the Purusha see? The screen of the mind. So, tada means then, drashtuhu, this seer, drashta means the one who sees. Swarupe avasthanam. Swa means self. Rupa means in itself nature. Avasthanam resides. then the seer resides in its own true nature. Okay, and next Patanjali will say, what if it doesn't, the vrittis don't cease? So this is what happens. The mind, you have the mind screen here, and when all the terrible active, the images, everything reduce, there's still some ripples, but the Purusha is able to see its reflection in the silver screen. So this is what happens. This is the most precious state. Patanjali, finally, in the last sutra, Patanjali describes this again. When all the gunas reside, Swarupa Pratishtava Titi Shakti, he ends the Yoga Sutras with this. He uses a different, I will come to that. To the sutras have a special, you have to follow some special sequence. So you can't repeat things. So he uses the word Chitti Shakti, the power of consciousness. So that's the word he uses. But so from here all the way to the end, he describes the process of yoga. So shall we chant this one? I will first chant and then you can chant after me. Tada drashtuhu swarupe vastanam. Then the seer abides in its own true nature. Okay, now this is our situation. What happens if the vrittis do not cease? Then vrittisarupyam itaratra. So what happens? The seer starts identifying with the movie screen. That's what happens. So whatever is played in the movie screen, it thinks that's the reality. And it starts all kinds of nonsense sounds, everything, images go there. And that's why the purity of the mind is important. The poor Purusha is seeing all that within all of us and getting tormented, all kinds of nightmare on Elm Street, that street. Yeah, so let's listen to
Vrittisarupyamittaratra.
So perhaps I'll chant and then you can repeat after me. Vrittisarupyam itaratra. Okay. So all these activities, whenever we have a thought, this is also a very important concept in yoga. It leaves an imprint on the mind. Doesn't need to be an action. Even the thought leaves an imprint. This imprint is called samskara. And the imprints, it's what goes from one birth to another. So it's kind of etched in your system. So it goes from one birth to another. Sometimes it's all latent within us. When there is certain condition, when there are certain conditions, and Patanjali also tastat vipakanugunanam eva avivyaktir vasananam. These imprints, when they have certain conditions, it gives out vasana. It's an imprint, samskara, vasanas, they're kind of used relatively, you will hear these terms, relatively interchangeably. Vasana literally means smell. So these imprints, with the right conditions, they give out the smell. And that has a tendency to make things happen. So with some people, they're just, their presence, they're just flamboyant, they're great speakers. All this comes from the samskaras, the hidden elements. Okay. Now comes the most important concept. Okay. So we talked about the Purusha. Purusha is this thing that is sitting inside in our head, or if you want a bigger screen, you can visualize the chest, bigger screen. Here is a forehead, small screen, big screen, sitting in the, they say that the Purusha is in the heart. It's seeing the big movie screen in the chest. And The Purusha is the consciousness principle. And the body is called Prakriti. Prakriti is nature. The body belongs to the nature. It's just elements. So it's called Prakriti. Prakriti consists of mind, body, sense faculty, sense objects, and other bodies, everything in the world. The body is inert. It is the power of the Purusha which is making, which brings it to life. It is like the Purusha, the way the Upanishads talk, it's like this bright sun. And it is that reflected light that is falling on it. It's the mind and the sense, they all belong to the Prakriti. It's like light, the Purusha's light reflecting of this mind and hitting the body. That's what gives it life. It seems as though it is coming from, so the mind sometimes seems to think, oh, I am the power, I am the powerhouse of everything. But it's actually the reflected light. So it's a very important concept they use. The mind is part of, it's also part of Prakriti. It is the power of the Purusha. And the mind thinks, oh, I am great, I am this, all that. No, it's actually reflected light. Otherwise, the mind is useless. Okay? And you will see many names for Purusha. Oh God, so many. It's full. The entire scriptures, yoga scriptures, they're all only about Purusha. Atma, the word Atma comes from the English word atom comes from the same root. It means something which cannot be destroyed. That's what they thought. But now they know there's so many things inside, right? Similarly, the Purusha, and we'll see a few shlokas, the Purusha cannot be destroyed. Now, Kledanti apaha shoshayati maltaka, or shastrani, weapons cannot cut it, fire cannot burn it, wind cannot dry it, water cannot wet it. This is an everlasting principle. And it's ancient, Purana, it's very ancient, it's there since time immemorial. So that is this Atma. Drashta we saw, Dehi, the embodied, the one which is inside the body. And we saw the Chitti Shakti, the power of consciousness, Swami, the owner of this body. Then Aprati Sankramaya, which is unmoving. It's just sitting in the chair and it's just seeing, it doesn't do anything. Jiva, Kshetrajna, it is the one that knows the body. So all these terms are used. Now, I told you about the Chitta, which is the movie theater with the pratyaya, screen, all that. The mind, according to the yoga philosophy, we just say mind, but the mind, they treat it very distinctly. It has 4 different parts. One of this is manas, which is memory and the feelings. And this is distributed throughout the body. Okay. One thing that asana practice teaches us is connection with the body. Because we tend to live in our heads, the body, they say, is the best lie detector. When, let's say, you want to work with a business partner, you talk to that person, your stomach and other parts of the body give feelings. Most of the time, we ignore that. We think, oh, the head, oh, the dollars look good, so let's do that. But you know something about that person which makes you feel uneasy. Most of the time, we ignore all that and we use the brain to make the decision. But the body is the most powerful thing. It carries a lot of memory also. So the body is the best lie detector. So manas, so the memory is stored not just here, but throughout the body. Then the buddhi, the intellect, that's the cerebrum, all that. So it tells you this is good, that is bad, don't do this. Intellect. Then the ahankara, that part of the mind which gives a sense of identity, ego. I am a teacher, I am a father, I am a mother, all these kind of things. And the ahankara thinks it's the doer, because that sense is what is actually the one that does. and finally the chitta. If you see the first three, when you're asleep, they're all off. Intellect is not operating, memory is also not operating. Ego, it's a different thing. You're in a dream state. You're something else. You can be a president of the US, whatever. So it's a false ego that comes in. So they're all off when you're asleep. The chitta is always on. This movie theater, it's always, even at night, Patanjali will say, the dreams, it's part of the movie theater. It's what's being played. It is the closest, chit iva bhavayati chittam. The chitta is so close to this Purusha, its closest link. It sometimes thinks that it is the Purusha, but it's not the Purusha. You saw that light, it reflects off here into the body. So the entire thing, it seems to think light is coming from this, but doesn't know it is reflected light. Okay? So far clear? All this? Okay. Then people describe there are certain kinds of mind that are suitable for yoga. So they describe 5 kinds of minds, the scriptures. Shipta, Moda, Vikshipta, Ekagra, Niruddha. The Shipta is a very restless mind. So they can come and sit here like this. It will be like a torture for those minds. Moda is stupefied mind. Immediately, oh, I want to go get a cappuccino. That they'll just go away. Vikshipta is where most of us belong. It is a mind that sometimes can be concentrated and sometimes restless. Then the Ekagra, that's a one-pointed mind. It's very perfect for yoga. Then the 5th is Niruddha, that's the end goal of your great yoga practitioner, meditation. Your mind is very controlled. So the first 2 are not suitable for yoga. Not suitable means it's, so by definition, yoga is mainly meditation. For them, they just cannot sit in a place and steady the mind. Whereas the 3rd category, Vikshipta, even though it's restless, there are times when they can sit and steady. So this is why yoga just, for some people, it's just very difficult to meditate. They need a lot of other things to do before they can get to the state. This mind has to be what? This is what the scriptures say. Okay. Now we saw that these days people associate yoga with asanas. In the former times, they would explicitly use the word yogasana to represent these postures. So yoga, in like 50 years ago, it meant something else, and we'll soon see that. Now, if you just look at the Yoga Sutras, I have the list of sutras per topic. Asana, 3 sutras. Pranayama is twice as important, 6. Then Ishvara, which you can loosely say God. It's something different in the yogic scriptures, but let's say that 7. Yama and Niyama, these are the observances, like internal cleanliness and all they're called vows, tapas, austerity, these kind of things. 16, meditation is about 76, and Purusha Prakriti, 88. It's all about Purusha Prakriti. So this is the breakup. And now the common, so here in this topic, we are seeing asanas in the larger scheme of yoga. So what is the purpose of asanas? If it's only, Yoga Sutras don't even talk much about it. Why then, what's the purpose? So the main reason we practice is to get the mind to settle down and the body to be fit enough to be able to meditate. Because with a weak body, it's very difficult to sit in meditation. So, Patabi Joyce, this is Patabi Joyce, this is his grandson, Sharad. Patabi Joyce is no more. He would quote this shloka from the Mundaka Upanishad. And it says, Nayam Atma balahinena labhyaha. The Atma is not attained by a weak body. Balahina means lack of strength. Balam is strength. Hina is lack of strength. Nayam Atma balahinena labhyaha. Let's hear it from Patabi Joyce's words.
You can understand. Nayam Atma balahinena labhyaha. Balahina means weak body, you don't get it impossible. You take practice, yoga practice, some asanas you do, that disease is going only for 6 months enough. And
this is another, it's from the Upanishads. It's not from the Yoga Sutras, but it's worth memorizing. So I put a tick mark here. Then in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, so the Yoga Sutras, like I said, they hardly talk about asanas. All the asanas are talked about in the Hatha Yoga text. So this Ashtanga Vinyasa practice, which many of you are familiar with, it is a 100% Hatha Yoga practice, that along with this Vinyasa movements. So it is very classic. Hatha, we'll come to that, it uses the prana. So in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is, there are many Hatha Yoga texts, Geranda Samhita, there's the Hatha Yoga Pradipika is the most well known because it very clearly categorizes everything. And there are many asanas, not too many, there are a few asanas. And this is a very important shloka from the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. What it says, Hatasya prathamangatvam asanam purvamuchyate kuryat tadasanam stairyam arogyam tangalagavam. Hatha, the first limb or chapter of Hatha, portion of Hatha is asanas. That's what you do first. And what is the purpose of this? When you do asanas, you get three things. So it's worth memorizing these three. Stairyam, which is stability. Stiram, like samaste sthiti, it's stability. Stairyam, arogyam, well-being. And the third is a magical word. It is called Angalagavam, and it is quoted in the Yoga Sutras too. The lightness. So when the body is heavy, so if the best state in Ayurveda, it says the best state of health is when you forget the body. Otherwise, there's some knee, hip, something which is reminding us that we have a body. Okay. State of lightness is what you get by restructuring the prana flows. All the asanas that we do, Pincha Mayurasana, for example, it's a strong bandha, Mula Bandha pose. And also Titibhasana, all these things. You have, so when teachers come and put you in Karandavasana, unless you use the bandhas, it's very difficult for them to lift. So the Angalagavam, it's a general sense of lightness in the body. This is one of the greatest gifts of asana practice. So let's hear this from Jayashree's voice. She has a very beautiful voice.
Hathasya prathamangatvat asanam purvamuchyate kuryat tadasanam stairyam arogyam changalaghavam.
So these three things is what comes from the practice of yoga. Now, Hatha Yoga, it is all about your prana. So there are few things that it says Hatha Yoga does. So asana is a specific position which opens the energy channels. It's called nadi. So we'll come to this in Ashtanga Yoga. The second series is called Nadi Shodhana. It's not that it means the first series doesn't do cleansing of the nadis, but these are energy conduits. It is said that the prana flows through the nadis in the body. If you ask, are these the same as nerves? No. It is imaginary, but when you do asana practice, you will feel that. And there are a lot of constituents that come. And this Hatha Yoga process is the process through which purification and the control of the body takes place by restructuring the pranic flows. And when the prana begins to flow, the toxin, that's why the first series is called Yoga Chikitsa. All the toxins, everything is removed in Ashtanga Yoga. And you will be, when all these are removed, you will be able to bend. In fact, for those in Ayurveda, they do a lot of this cleansing, right? Panchakarma, all this. When people, I haven't done this because it's not suited for my dosha, but people who have done that, they report the flexibility increases 10 times. They wouldn't be able to even touch their knees. They can go touch their feet standing up. That is so, all that, this is the general concept. When you cleanse the body, you make the prana strong, then the body is able to become like Angalagava. That happens, and it's able to bend more. And even Patanjali also says that we'll come to that. It's a very important sutra. The store of prana is increased, the body will lift by itself. So some people, it's like very easy for them to just go into a handstand. And that comes from the prana. And you can do postures which you never even thought you could do before. So I have a reference. If you want more references, you're all teachers. If you have more reference, yeah.
I just have a quick question. What did you mean when you said it's not suited for your dosha, did you say?
Yes.
What's that concept?
So, okay. Dosha is, so in Ayurveda, your body, your mind-body type can fall in any of the categories, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So depending on that, there are certain, you lead a lifestyle based on that. Yeah, but we can talk about it more later in the Q&A if you want. So there's we'll come to that sutra too. So to do prowess and poses, it's not like pushing yourself. It is actually removing, cleaning your body. That's why in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, a lot of the kriyas to clean your body is given a very high importance. So that's how you progress. And all these things are usually do in a different workshop. The prana, the bandha is what steers. The bandha literally means a bind or a lock. So think about a pipe with water flowing. If it has water dripping through all the holes, it's very difficult to channel the water, right? So when you lock everything, that's what you do with the bandhas. Then you can channel the prana into the body. You will feel that. So this is, we won't cover this because it's a part of Hatha Yoga. So now we are covering more the yoga philosophy. But if you're interested later, I can do this for you. So it says that when you work at the muscular level, it's linear progress. But at the pranic level, progress is exponential. Now, one would ask how much asana practice is needed. Pattabhi Joyce would say this. When people ask, Guruji, what is the use of the first series? He would say, oh, it's Yoga Chikitsa. It's for just first cleansing your body. Guruji, what's the use of the second series? He would say it's Nadi Shodhana. It cleanses all your nadis, so your mind is very alert, all that. Then what about the third series, Guruji? Then you say, oh, just demonstration. So the higher asanas, they're really beyond a certain limit. One has to move on to pranayama and other states. Asana is just to get the body right. And the reason Hatha Yoga Pradipika says the reason there are 8.4 million asanas, as much as the number of species, is because people's bodies are different. For some people who are extremely flexible and young, to get their minds to settle down, they have to do advanced things. But for others, people who are old like me, I cannot be doing all that, and it's actually counterproductive because you will get injured. That is the reason. Okay. There are some reference articles if you're interested. Okay. This is one other important concept. They're different. So what's the difference between advanced yoga and circus acrobatics? Patabi Joyce would clearly distinguish. He would take all his students to, in the old 70s, all these people, Nancy Gilgoff, everybody, he would take them to a circus. Says, oh, Guruji, that is Vrishchikasana, so scorpion pose, this Vrishchikasana. You say, no, that's just circus. It's not Vrishchikasana. What's the difference? In circus, you have to look good. The pose has to be perfect. So achievement, display of prowess is an important thing because you're demonstrating. If it is done from the view of health, it is exercise. But in yoga, what matters is whether your mind is still. Or then the final pose doesn't matter. Then it becomes yoga. So this is the difference. Here are some references. So in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is considered a primer on yoga, it tells about this. Yoga, it's all about pleasure. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika also says all these poses. If it gives you, if you're just pushing because you have to bind and do all that, then it's not yoga. Initially there'll be a little bit of discomfort, but you should never push to the point where it's becoming unpleasant. So sukham atyantikam yattad buddhigrahyam atindriyam. So joy that cannot even be comprehended by the intellect. That is what you will get in yoga. And for a lot of people, even asana practitioners, it's true with meditation. Even asana practitioners, they get a sense of high. This is a pleasure which doesn't come from the senses. It is a refined pleasure. It is called halada. It is outwardly pleasure. And the great thing about this pleasure is, even when the objects of the senses, they go away, you're still eating it. Whereas a pleasure you get from ice cream or from a movie, once it's ended, you will already feel suffered, let it say. So this is how they distinguish pleasure. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate atyantavanta kaunteya nateshuramate buddha. Any pleasure that comes from the contact with the sense objects, eyes or taste, whatever, they have a beginning and an end, and they're a source of misery, it says. So the wise won't rejoice at this. So they talk about this refined pleasure that comes from the yoga practice. Okay. So these days when we see the internet, so this is the image you get of yoga. So it's not fully correct. There's a portion of it, there's all these things, Hatha Yoga, doing all this. It is a part, but it's not the full image. So there is this, I usually show this. Oh, by the way, I'm not sharing the screen. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Lataji and Everglow. Who's Everglow? Is that a name?
That's all right, Ganeshji. We are listening, so thank you. Thanks for showing.
Yeah. Okay. So the you have a question?
Hello. My name is Yeonju Kim.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Sorry about it. I will try to redo this and send it later. Okay. So in the previous days, when the term yoga was used, this was 50 years ago, before 1970, usually refers to somebody sitting in meditation. But nowadays, it's usually physical postures, doing some advanced pose. So it's not like one is wrong or something, but this is how things have changed. And these kids, so this is Krishnamacharya standing on the chest of somebody doing kapostras. Kapotasana, Sharat calls this nightmare asana. So these kids, the only reason they came is because they get one square meal, the biggest meal of the day, because they were all poor from this is the Mysore palace from the king there. But now people pay money to do that. So that's the change in the perspective. And diet, the kids, they came so that they ate the one meal. Right now, people do all this to eat another fancy extra course. And BK Saingar, they asked him, so Guruji, what diet did you follow? And he laughed and said, for days together, he was living on tea and tap water. So he had no diet at all. Anyway, so yeah, previously there was only one yoga. They didn't, now there's that yoga, this yoga, goat yoga. Anyway, it's just a lighter look at how things have changed. Okay. This, I'm not going to ask you to chant this, but this is an important sutra to the wise. And all these pleasures that come in the world, they are, in the end, they only cause suffering. So the Buddha, he had everything, but he still was not happy. And that's what led him to yoga, meditation. So let's just listen to this sutra.
परिणामतापसंस्कारदुःखैर्गुणवृत्तिविरोधाच्च दुःखमेव सर्वं विवेकिनः.
So it describes three types of dukkha, suffering, that is sorrow. Parinama, after an event has ended, you go to a movie theater or eat a nice dinner, after it has ended, the suffering, that sorrow, it's called parinama. Parinama means transformation. Once it's done, you get that sorrow. Tapa dukkha, tapas, thirst. Tapas is different from tapa. So tapa means thirst. You're thirsty. Oh, when will I have that meal again? When will I see that movie? The craving that makes you feel a little lacking something, that is called tapa dukkha. And samskara, it's there in our nature. There are certain things which make us suffer. So, solution to all this, later Patanjali will say, is meditation. And the end goal, we'll come to this, the end goal is escape from the cycle of births and deaths. This is what all the yoga texts say. So here in the Gheranda Samhita, the seventh, he introduces it very early. Just as the Nodia, which is a water wheel, moves up and down, driven by cows, so driven by action, by our action, the jiva wanders through births and deaths. So that is called samsara, cycle of births and deaths. And the yoga is a way to escape from that. That is the end goal of yoga. Okay. So, any questions so far?
I'm thinking about this concept a lot.
You're thinking that's
Is it so that once you have acknowledgement of the concept, does it make it sort of like mission, I guess, absolve all of the sense rather than this lifetime? Yeah, it needs to be done.
yeah. So the end idea is then you wouldn't add to the baggage. So you will lead your life in a way that it'll eventually, it has to be programmed. You will change your samskaras so that certain things, you avoid certain things because you know it's going to add to the baggage. And even in everyday life, you will apparently find, this is what the scriptures say, that slowly as you move in this path of yoga, you will change how you lead your life so that the baggage becomes smaller and smaller. Eventually, when it is zero, if you want to be reborn. Okay, And so yogi, how do you define a yogi? So these days I show people doing all fancy things, but the scriptures, they don't talk about anything. There are only three things they say. Yogi, we already saw, it's a mind that can easily be drawn into meditation. Second, ability to control the senses. This is a very important thing. And it's not by force. It is by finding these joys from the yoga. Because I know this from a lot of my friends who practice Ashtanga Vinyasa. They wake up at 4 and they practice. They are able to carry this. It's like the tail gradually goes on. The joy that they get, they're able to sustain it throughout the day. And they don't want to do anything which will prevent, like eating a terrible dinner that will prevent them from doing the practice next day. So they want to lead their life in a way that it doesn't affect them from getting this fine, defined pleasure. So they're able to control the senses because they've tasted a more refined pleasure. So that is this is the most important thing in the yogi. Repeatedly the yogi can say again and again and again. In fact, the Kurmasana, to Sutta Kurmasana transition. So yata samharate chayam mongani vasarvashaha indriyatebhyaha tasya prajna pratishtita. Like a tortoise withdrawing its limbs, person of sthita prajna, one steady wisdom. This person is able to withdraw his limb from the sense object, his or her limb from the sense objects into the refined pleasure that you get from yoga practice. It can be asana or meditation. That's a more refined pleasure. Okay. And the third, it also says the yogi is not given to excesses. Samatvam yoga muchate. It's balanced. Of course, we need to eat other things, but excess food and even excess effort is not good. The point of bearing oneself out. So I conducted a workshop recently with this topic. So if you're interested, you can get more on what is actual the scripture, the text from the Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Sutras you can find here. So I'm just adding all these references. So later, if you want to teach it to your students, you can pull it from here. Okay, any questions? Okay. All right. So now I already said that the Shastra, it means it's an authoritative text which we take as like the authorities' text on a subject. There are two texts which are considered authoritative: the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita. Now there is a difference between each. The Yoga Sutras is like a scientific doctrine of 195 or 196 aphorisms. It's like stating Newton's law of motion. Action and reaction are equal and opposite. That's it. Like that, he has 196 sutras. It is written in a very scientific format, which means no curse words. Whereas the Bhagavad Gita is a poetry, and it happens in a battlefield. And the language is flamboyant. Krishna, he'll just use curse left, right, and center. So he uses the word vimuda nanu pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. He says these people who don't have wise eyes. Jnana chakshushaha means the eyes of wisdom. They just berate all this. They say, oh, meditation is just navel gazing. It's just such a stupid thing. These people, they don't understand anything. So he uses the word vimuda. We already saw the word muda. Muda, literally, it means empty. People use it's translated as deluded in English, and it's accentuates it. So you can use it's empty. It's people in English that call it that idiot. So what is an accentuated idiot? It's a distilled idiot. Krishna uses that word. So it's very, very captivating, and it's the same concepts are said, but in a very elaborate and repetitive fashion. So we'll very quickly see the two. So um, the Bhagavad Gita is very interesting in that it is considered knowledge of the Brahman. So in these scriptures, they don't use the word God, they just use the word Brahman. That is the one that pervades everything. You can call it nature or whatever. It's some divine force that pervades everything. The Bhagavad Gita is considered a yoga. So every chapter at the end, Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. That's how it goes, which means this Bhagavad Gita is a condensation of all the Upanishads, which is what was revealed to people in their meditative states, which don't have authorship. It is the knowledge of the Brahman, Brahma Vidya, and it's a Yoga Shastra, because it tells in detail, the most detailed work on meditation. It's in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6. It's a primer on meditation, how to control the mind. And that's why it's called the Yoga Shastra. So I said one is a scientific treatise. So all the sutras are written with these rules. Alpaksharam asandigdam saravat vishvato mukham astogam anavadyam cha sutra vido viduhu. So concise, unambiguous. That's why it's aphorism, very to the point. Nothing, no beating around the bush. Containing only the essence of the subject. Vishvato mukham means mukham is face, facing all directions. So it's all encompassing. Astobam, devoid of fillers, irrefutable. So that is the sutra format. And the choice of language also, it's Patanjali doesn't use the term bhakti. Uses the word bhakti means devotion. Uses the word Ishvara Pranidhana. That is surrender to this Ishvara. And he doesn't define Ishvara as God. He defines this as a special Purusha. Purusha Vishesha, very scientifically written. Whereas here, Krishna, left, right, center. One example. So he says, Tanaham Vishata Kruram Samsareshu Naradaman Shipam Yajastak Ashubhan Asuri Sheva Yonishu Ashurin Yonima Panna Mura Janmani Janmani Mama Prapya Kaunteya Matoyan Tadagam Gatim. These cruel and hateful people, the wild and the vicious of humankind, I hurl them into the wombs of those with similar demonic natures in a cycle of rebirth in the material world. These are ignorant souls that take birth again and again in demonic wombs. Failing to reach me, they gradually sink to the bottom. This is, look at the language. So one is very scholarly, the other one is in a very poetic, it just touches us very easily. In the Yoga Sutras, you're not supposed to repeat. Patanjali has made one exception, and that is with respect to the Ishvara. Twice he says, Ishvara pranidhanatva. You can still your mind, I devotion to Ishvara. He uses that. In Samadhi Siddhi Ishvara pranidhanat. Success in meditation comes by surrendering to Ishvara. We use that twice. A lot of people, so those who don't like Patanjali, they say he violated this, so it's not Yoga Sutras. Those days, all these different groups, they'll kind of debate with each other to say, mine is superior. But anyway, but in the Yoga Sutras, Krishna just repeats. Okay, so go back to here. So, as we already said, all these, the the yoga scriptures, the recent studies, it gives us the big picture view across multiple lifetimes. That is what helps still mind. But also for those who practice asanas, it gives a bigger goal to come to the mat every day. If it is just for maintaining a certain body, then at some point it will go away. But a lot of my friends who are Ashtanga Vinyasa practitioners, they are able to sustain their practice into their 70s. It is mainly because of the study of scriptures. This is what they tell me. Questions? I've been talking for an hour. You guys need a break? Anything? It's totally up to you. Whatever, because I said, yeah. 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 So for me, as I was growing up, I was a lot of these things I was exposed to. And when I was doing my PhD work, I studied the full Bhagavad Gita. That was a transformative point. The Bhagavad Gita was so powerful, especially the words. A lot of people, I mean, I didn't know much. I was not great at Sanskrit and all that. And the meter, the Bhagavad Gita is written with a certain meter. And it becomes like the entire thing, it's a mantra. It has the power to steady the mind. And it works on your subconscious. This is what people, a lot of Westerners also say that. And they attend, there's a lady whose voice you heard, Jayashri. They attend her chanting classes, and Devora does that too. He's a big fan of Jayashri. And Devora has a very great voice also. They are doing this because it works on the subconscious level, this mantras. And I think all those definitely do have that impact. Any other questions? Yeah.
In the context of the yoga, what is the view of Buddhism?
Yeah. So, yeah. So, okay. So the question is, what in the context of Yoga Sutras, what is the
Where is it something?
so they're okay in a big picture, they're more or less the same, but in the fourth chapter, Patanjali says certain things which kind of refute Buddhism. What the Buddha did that was very great was that at that time, this was 500 BCE, before Common Era. That's when the Buddha. At that time, all this the Hinduism had become very monotonic in the sense they paid a lot of attention just to actions like doing worshipping this deity, that deity, and they had lost the essential meaning. And there were also animal sacrifices. Even though people did not eat meat, but they sacrificed animals and they probably gave the meat to somebody else, whatever. The Buddha was against all this. So the Buddha did a lot to challenge and clean up this stuff. But he also didn't pay any attention to the Vedas. The Vedas are Shruti, that which is heard or revealed, and it's taken as the authority. And he didn't refute it, but at the same time, he didn't subscribe to it. So it did not get popularity, and that's the reason why these different factions, they kind of they challenged the different notions. The Buddha talked about shunyata, that is voidness, and he did not, though they talked about Atma, he did not exactly subscribe to this. And the biggest problem is the Buddha taught in Magadha, but it was only 500 years later that they translated it into Pali. So a lot of things that probably he taught probably were not, we don't have them. So yeah, that is yeah. Any other questions? So do you guys need a break now, or a 5-minute break? Or you're good? Yeah, we'll just bathroom, water, and then we'll have a major child vacation. That's the highlight. Right? So I will stop the recording here and I'll restart.
Thank you.